Good morning. Thank you for joining us today on the weekly Zoom. And if you're not here live, then I'm excited that you will be able to watch this a little bit later. We are today going to talk about a topic that I am very excited about, and that is sleep. And sleep is one of those things that we take for granted a little bit. We all do it, so it's not necessarily like something like exercise where maybe we don't all exercise all the time, but pretty much every day we're getting some sleep. The quality of sleep differs from person to person, and the duration of the sleep differs from person to person, and both of those things are important, both the quality and the duration, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So I wanted to just comment on, recently there were some studies that the National Sleep Foundation looked at. They looked at a bunch of studies. They did a comprehensive review of these scientific studies that have been done on sleep, and they've changed their sleep recommendations just a little bit. It's really not that much. They've just changed some. In fact, what I noticed is in a lot of cases they actually increased the range, so that for infants, for example, I think it used to be 14 to 15 hours of sleep. Now they're saying infants can actually thrive on 12 to 15 hours. So this underscores to me the whole idea of bio-individuality. We're all a little different, so I'm going to give you some information about sleep that you might fit into this range a little differently than other people do, and you might be a little outside the range as well. But I will give you I'll give you some suggestions, but also I'll tell you, what the science says. So just what those sleep recommendations are, I think for my audience here today, I would say teens, 8 to 10 hours of sleep a day. So those teenagers who are having a hard time getting out of bed in the morning, that their bodies are having them do what it needs to do. Young adults is a new category. It's 18 to 25. And that's 7 to 9 hours a day. Adults is also 7 to 9 hours a day. The reason they have those two categories though separated is because they have outside the range some recommendations as well, and young adults may require sleep than other people do. And then 65 years or older is a range that is 7 to 8 hours. So when you get a little bit older, you may not need quite as much sleep. Can whoever just logged on, can you mute your microphone for me? Thank you. So anyway, what I'm going to go over with you is the what, so what, and now what of sleep. So what? The first thing that I'll say is sleep is critical for stress management and overall health. And there we go. And people who sleep for fewer than 6 hours are at a higher risk for disease. I actually have some really interesting stats on this. So inadequate sleep can lead to decreased immunity, increased aging, and increased risk of disease. I don't know about you. I've been a mostly healthy person, meaning I haven't had a lot of illness, but the increased aging, I'm 40 now, and I'm very interested in the increased aging aspect as well. So it also leads to overeating and poor food choices. When you don't get a lot of sleep, your body is suddenly craving it's craving something. It's craving sleep. But when we're awake and we're running through our day, it might feel like the only choice that we have is fueling it. And so that then becomes cravings, which is really the result of the disruptions in the hormones. We talked about cortisol. There's also a hormone called ghrelin and leptin. And those two hormones are they're the I'm hungry hormones. They let you know when you're hungry. They let you know what cravings to have. There's a whole other conversation to have about how our brain functions and how we interpret cravings. And going through the drive-through Dunkin' Donuts may satiate a craving we think we're having. Ghrelin and leptin are actually trying to tell us we need this probably a healthier kind of nourishment. Research shows, I've given you the new ranges, but roughly 7 to 8 hours of sleep is recommended. If you're a healthy adult, 7 to 8 hours of sleep, it's probably going to be just fine for you. And here's some interesting statistics. So if we drop from 7 hours down to 6 hours of sleep per night, your risk of developing obesity increases by 23%. So losing an hour of sleep on average, it's almost a quarter, 25% more likely that you're going to develop obesity. Now, when that number goes down to 5 hours a night, you have a 50% higher chance of developing obesity. And guess what? These numbers are just like tick, tick, tick. 4 hours a night, you lose another hour a night, only getting 4 hours of sleep, and you're looking at 73% chance of increased obesity. So that's a lot of information. And the so what is really that you need to be getting a minimum, an absolute minimum of 6 hours. I would say 7 hours of sleep a night. And so that's going to affect lots of it, your brain and your body, your health, your weight, your immunity, your inflammation response. Everything's related. Everything in your body is related to everything else. So getting sleep is really, you get a lot of bang for your buck with sleep. And, I'd ask you to think about what are, when you think about having a really great night's sleep, imagine a night that you slept really well, and how did you feel when you woke up? So if you felt great, if you think about that day that you got to sleep in, you got maybe 8 or 9 hours of sleep, and you got up and you don't have to rush to something, imagine how your body feels and the reparations your body is making internally. It's kind of exciting. So that's the what and the so what. This is the data, and then so what that means for you. The now what, I want to talk a little bit about, I think the question that we had on the message board was really about what do you do to get more sleep? Because that's sort of the trick, right? We've got all of these competing interests. So I'm just going to give you a few strategies, a few things that I've learned from my research, and also I'm going to be citing from Dr. A's Discover Your Optimal Health book. This is a great book. If you don't have it, let me know. I actually have a bunch of copies, and we could maybe work something out. But it's a quick read. It's got a lot of good information, but I'm going to quote from a few other sources, but really primarily from Dr. A's Habits of Health. So the first thing I want to say is that we're a little different. There's the circadian rhythm, and without getting too sciencey, when the sun goes down, as human beings, and most animals, we have nocturnal animals, but non-nocturnal animals, we're designed to release hormones in our body, and the hormone of melatonin you've probably heard of, and that is what triggers the sleep response. So you can eat foods that promote the release of that, but also just putting yourself in a position to go to sleep. Darkening your room will increase your melatonin, and which is really good for sleep. So, but that said, some of us function a little better at night than we do in the morning. So I think it's important to honor that. So overall, humans are designed to be awake when the sun's up and sleeping when it's dark out. However, we all have slightly different we have this bio-individuality, so some of us function differently. So I'm going to ask you to answer the question, are you a lark or are you an owl? So if you're a lark, I'm a lark. I like to be up in the morning. When the sun's up, I want to be up, unless I went to bed late, and then it throws me off for sure. But if I've gotten those 8 hours of sleep and the sun comes up, I'm ready to go. So my husband, on the other hand, is a complete owl, and he really does his best work at night. He stays up late. His whole family is like this. They all like to be up late and curse the morning. It's not their thing. So I don't think it's so important that you're, the early to bed, early to rise adage is, about getting enough sleep, but really it's not so much that as getting that sustained amount of sleep each night is really the benefit. So if you are a person who is going to function better by going to bed at midnight, that's great if you can get up at 8 in the morning. But I would say if you have a job that requires you to be out of bed at 5 in the morning, you need to adjust that sleep time. If you really are an owl and that's really hard for you getting up in the morning, and you function best when you get up at 8 or 9 in the morning, maybe think about a different job. And I know that sounds like a big shift and an obstacle for people, but really if you can shift your life around creating health, this is one of those steps. So creating your life around the things that matter to optimal health, those are the things that matter. not always possible, and I understand that, but that's just, something to think about. So really disciplining yourself to wake up at the same time every day. I know weekends I tend to say, oh good, I get to sleep in a little bit, but your body actually functions better if you wake up the same time every day and go to bed about the same time every night. So a couple of tips on, we'll start, say, from waking up to going to bed. So in the morning, avoid hitting snooze. So hitting snooze, it's just very disruptive to your body. It's much better to get up and get going. It doesn't feel like it, but it really is. And the sooner you can get sun on your face, and I'm laughing a little bit thinking about, I saw the sun this morning and I'm excited because we're not apparently going to see it again until Tuesday sometime. So really excited about the sun this morning. But getting the sun, what the sun does, remember we talked about melatonin, the sun signals to your brain, stop releasing melatonin. So if you're laying in a dark room, you may have done this where you wake up and you lounge around in bed and you don't open the shades, maybe in a hotel even where they've got the nice dark shades. You're not going to feel like getting up, but when that sunlight hits you, your body actually has a physiological response, and that helps you wake up. So it feels like the last thing you want to do when you're first waking up and coming out of sleep to get the bright sun, but that actually will help you. Other things during the day that will help support your night of restful sleep: increase activity during your day. Wear yourself out a little bit. And I'm not talking the mental stress of work and the busyness and stress that creates. That certainly can be exhausting, but get some physical activity. Avoid eating large meals before bed. It's just heavy in your body, then it has to be awake in a certain way for digestive purposes. A small snack is fine, but having something big that makes your body really work is going to be disruptive to the sleep cycle. Before you climb in bed, review your day. Think about your day. I think a lot of us get in bed and that brain chatter starts going and prevents us from getting a good night's sleep. So review your day ahead of time, put it aside. I also recommend that to my clients that they journal about maybe a little to-do list of what do I need to get done tomorrow, because I think it's really common to wake up in the middle of the night and start worrying about the next day and, oh, have I thought about what I'm going to do tomorrow? I recommend writing down, and if you do wake up and think of something else, if you can grab a pen and jot it down, it gives you permission to let it go. You don't have to remind yourself to remember it later, which can be really stressful, and all of a sudden you're awake thinking about all kinds of things. So decreasing stimulation. So in your bedroom, if you can decrease the stimulation, that's really good. If you have a TV in your bedroom, it is what it is, having a TV in your bedroom. I have one in my bedroom. My husband loves to watch TV in the bedroom. And we do, but shutting that off 30 minutes before you go to bed is really important. Dr. A would say, when you're in bed, there are two activities you should be doing. One is sleep, and the other one is not watching TV. So I'll let you figure out what that other one might be. He recommends both for habits of health. So at any rate, turning off any electronics, the cell phone, the Kindle, anything that's making noise. So making noise or throwing off light, anything electronic. If it's got a button on it, 30 minutes before that time that you said, I need to be asleep by 9:45 at night to get up and have a nice amount of sleep, shut all those things off 30 minutes ahead of time. Let your brain shut down. Minimize liquids, because one of our habits is drinking lots of water. You probably have noticed if you drink a glass of water before going to bed, you're probably going to have to get up in the middle of the night and disrupt your sleep. Also avoiding alcohol. Alcohol is interesting because it's a stimulant and a depressant. So it might induce sleep. It probably will induce sleep eventually, but it impacts the quality of your sleep. And earlier I said this, we want a duration of sleep, but we want restorative sleep. So you want to sleep well. You don't want to be tossing and turning with your waking up with clips going through your mind. And alcohol is one of those things that doesn't get you into the level of sleep that you need for the optimal health. Don't go to bed mad. If you're having a conflict, resolve the conflict before you go to bed. It's probably better to spend a few extra minutes, or maybe even an extra hour from time to time. If there's a conflict, resolve that conflict, because you're not going to get that restorative sleep you need if you're feeling angry when you go to sleep. And just a couple environmental pieces are the temperature of the room is important. and if you're sharing a room with somebody else, that can be a little bit tricky, but making sure that you're comfortable and you're not going to get too hot. It's preferable to have your room a little bit on the cool side. So you can have blankets on you, but have the air in your room a little bit on the cool side. Even cracking a window, getting some fresh air, even in the winter. Not saying open it up and let all the warm air out, but having that fresh air to breathe in is really nice for your body as well. And also noise. I'm a person, I need to have a noisemaker. I have a fan that I have on, because if I hear outside noise, if I hear dogs barking outside or trucks going by, I have a train that runs by, if I hear that, that will wake me up. So I've gotten used to having a little noisemaker, and there are apps on your phone. I know I said shut off your phone, but if it's something that's going to help you sleep. And another thing, I've heard people complain that they don't like to read because they find that it puts them right to sleep. It's like, oh, I get so bored, I start reading a book. Well, guess what? Go ahead, read a book in bed before you go to sleep. I think it's a great way. And even if it is a Kindle, the light does mess with you a little bit. But if that's a step you can take getting you closer to getting to sleep, then I think that's probably the right thing to do with a Kindle or whatever. So that's basically what I wanted to say. And I guess I would ask you to think about your sleep routine. So what is your current sleep routine? Is it one that you think really supports having a restful sleep? What are you willing to take away? What might you be willing to add in to your sleep routine? And just thinking of routines, I heard something recently about babies. When you think about babies, I don't have a baby, but I know this, right? Like, babies have certain routine at night. So they might get fed, and then they get burped, and then they maybe have their bath, and then there's the lullaby, and maybe the lights are dimmed, and the mom might rub the back of the baby and then leaves the baby. So there's this routine. And I think most parents would say, if you just take a baby out of that routine, all of a sudden that baby's not going to have a restful night's sleep. The body is really responsive to routine, and I think that's true for us as grown human beings as well. So thinking about the routines that you could put into your life, and I'm not saying that you have to change everything overnight, but what's something a little different you could do this week? It might be shutting the TV off, not watching TV in bed this week. It might be not hitting snooze each morning. It might be not eating past 7 o'clock at night, or and it might be setting a bedtime. Just setting a bedtime and saying, I'm not going to bring my computer to bed or my work to bed. I'm just using the bed for sleep this week, and see what it's like. So I would love to hear from you about any sleep-related ahas you have, or anything that you would like to try this week. And if you do want more information on sleep, again, Dr. A's Discover Your Optimal Health. I feel like I'm doing an advertisement, but really it is just a good resource. It's a really good resource for all of the areas of health that we want to improve. So let me know if you're interested in this book. I can direct you to, you can get it on my website, you can get it on Amazon. I've got copies here that if we're nearby, we could work that out as well. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I think we've got 2 more Zoom calls that we'll have, or 1 more. No, I can't remember. But we're getting down to the wire. I think it's the 24th of February we're finishing up. So thanks for joining, and have a fabulous, fabulous week. And hopefully you're not like me and you won't be in another foot of snow in the next 2 days. Bye.